Mrs. Leicester's School by Charles Lamb. Written 1808. First edition 1809. Text of second edition 1809. My dear young friends, though released from the business of the school, the absence of your governess confines me to Amwell during the vacation. I cannot better employ my leisure hours than in contributing to the amusement of you, my kind pupils, who, by your affectionate attentions to my instructions, have rendered a life of labor pleasant to me. On your return to school, I hope to have a fair copy ready to present to each of you of your own biographical conversations last winter. Accept my thanks for the approbation you were pleased to express when I offered to become your amanuensis. I hope you will find I have executed the office with a tolerably faithful pen. As you know, I took notes each day during those conversations and arranged my materials after you were retired to rest. I begin from the day our school commenced. It was opened by your governess for the first time on the day of February. I pass over your several arrivals on the morning of that day. Your governess received you from your friends in her own parlor. Every carriage that drove from the door I knew had left a sad heart behind. Your eyes were red with weeping when your governess introduced me to you as the teacher she had engaged to instruct you. She next desired me to show you into the room which we now call the playroom. The ladies, said she, may play and amuse themselves, and be as happy as they please this evening, that they may be well acquainted with each other before they enter the schoolroom tomorrow morning. The traces of tears were on every cheek, and I also was sad. For I, like you, had parted from my friends, and the duties of my profession were new to me. Yet I felt that it was improper to give way to my own melancholy thoughts. I knew that it was my first duty to divert the solitary young strangers, for I considered that this was very unlike the entrance to an old established school, where there is always some good-natured girl who will show attentions to a new scholar, and take pleasure in initiating her into the customs and amusements of the place. These, thought I, have their own amusements to invent, their own customs to establish. How unlike, too, is this forlorn meeting to old schoolfellows returning after the holidays, when mutual greetings soon lighten the memory of parting sorrow. I invited you to draw near a bright fire which blazed in the chimney, and looked the only cheerful thing in the room. During our first solemn silence, which, you may remember, was only broken by my repeated requests that you would make a smaller and still smaller circle, till I saw the fireplace fairly enclosed round, the idea came into my mind, which has since been a source of amusement to you in the recollection, and to myself in particular, has been of essential benefit, as it enabled me to form a just estimate of the dispositions of you, my young pupils, and assisted me to adapt my plan of future instructions to each individual temper. An introduction to a point we wish to carry, we always feel to be an awkward affair, and generally execute it in an awkward manner. So I believe I did then, for when I imparted this idea to you, I think I prefaced it rather too formally for such young auditors, for I began with telling you that I had read in old authors that it was not unfrequent in former times, when strangers were assembled together, as we might be, for them to amuse themselves with telling stories, either of their own lives or the adventures of others. Will you allow me, ladies, I continued, to persuade you to amuse yourselves in this way? You will not then look so unsociably upon each other, for we find that these strangers of whom we read were as well acquainted before the conclusion of the first story as if they had known each other many years. Let me prevail upon you to relate some little anecdotes of your own lives. Fictitious tales we can read in books, and they were therefore better adapted to conversation in those times when books of amusement were more scarce than they are at present. After many objections of not knowing what to say, or how to begin, which I overcame by assuring you how easy it would be, for that every person is naturally eloquent when they are the hero or heroine of their own tale, the who should begin was next in question. I proposed to draw lots, which formed a little amusement of itself. Miss Manners, who till then had been the saddest of the sad, began to brighten up, and said it was just like drawing king and queen, and began to tell us where she passed last 12th day. But as her narration must have interfered with the more important business of the lottery, I advised her to postpone it, till it came to her turn to favor us with the history of her life, when it would appear in its proper order. The first number fell to the share of Miss Villiers, whose joy at drawing what we called the first prize was tempered with shame at appearing as the first historian in the company. She wished she had not been the very first. She had passed all her life in a retired village, and had nothing to relate of herself that could give the least entertainment. She had not the least idea in the world where to begin. Begin, said I, with your name, for that at present is unknown to us. Tell us the first thing you can remember. Relate whatever happened to make a great impression on you when you were very young. And if you find you can connect your story till your arrival here today, I am sure we shall listen to you with pleasure. And if you like to break off and only treat us with a part of your history, we will excuse you with many thanks for the amusement which you have afforded us. And the lady who has drawn the second number will, I hope, take her turn with the same indulgence to relate either all or any part of the events of her life, as best pleases her own fancy, or as she finds she can manage it with the most ease to herself. Encouraged by this offer of indulgence, Miss Villiers began. If in my report of her story, or in any which follow, I shall appear to make her, or you speak an older language than it seems probable that you should use, speaking in your own words, it must be remembered that what is very proper and becoming when spoken requires to be arranged with some little difference before it can be set down in writing. Little inaccuracies must be pared away, and the whole must assume a more formal and correct appearance. My own way of thinking, I am sensible, will too often intrude itself, but I have endeavored to preserve, as exactly as I could, your own words and your own peculiarities of style and manner, and to approve myself. Your faithful historiographer, as well as true friend,